Good morning, DCS first graders. It's Miss Berry here for our Monday lesson for reading skills. So we have been working really hard, especially last week, working on some skills that will help us to better understand the books that we read. We talked about character traits, sequence of events, cause and effect, main idea and details, and we did some comprehension work. We're going to keep with that this week and really focus in on how these skills can help us to better understand the books that we read, because it's not enough just to read our book. We have to understand what's happening in our book to be a better reader. So we're going to keep working with that, and today we're going into character traits. So our target for the day is I can determine the character traits of the main character in a text. So let's go ahead and do that with our mirror. Ready? Mirror. Mirror with words. Great. Repeat after me. I can determine the character traits of the main character in a text. Perfect. So what that means, my friends, is that we're going to decide what the character is like on the outside and what the character is like on the inside. And we do that by listening to the details in our story. So some of the things that we consider when we're talking about our character trait is how does the character look? How does the character behave? And how does the character act and react in certain situations? So I have a picture that I want to take a look at. It's called a meme, if you've heard of them before. And it's a picture that has some words over the top. And we're going to take a look at this character this morning and see if we can decide some character traits just by looking at the picture and the words on it. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Take a look and start thinking about what kind of character this character is, the traits they have. All right, so here is this cat, and the one on the left, it says, I had fun once. It was awful. And then on the right, he says, just put me down. Now I want you to look at the picture. How does the cat's face look? And then think about the things that he's saying. What does it tell us about this character as a person? He says, I had fun once. It was awful. And he says, just put me down. So what are you thinking about this character? Is this character a human? Is this character an animal? What kind of animal? What does this character's face look like? And how do you think this character is on the inside? Is this character a happy character, or would you say something different? Go ahead and look at it for a couple more seconds, and then we'll start thinking about our ideas. Okay, great. So my friends, when I was looking at that character, I happen to know something about it. That cat is called Grumpy Cat. And I can totally tell why. And I hope that you saw that too. So when I think of Grumpy Cat on the outside, I noticed one, that he's a cat. Number two, I noticed that he was frowning. Yeah, I agree. And I noticed that he was furry, because that's most animals are. So those are three things that I would write about Grumpy Cat on the outside. On the inside, I thought about the things that he was saying, because I think about how they behave and act and react. And Grumpy Cat said that he had fun once and it was awful. Who says that having fun is awful? That seems a little strange to me, like he's not a happy cat. And then he said, just put me down. Like he didn't want to be around whoever was holding him. So it made me come up with the word grumpy. I just think that he's a grumpy cat. He doesn't really like having fun. He doesn't like being around people. He wants to be left alone. So that's how I would describe a grumpy cat. And I hope that you saw some of those same things when you were looking at that picture. So today we're going to read a book together. It's called Tacky the Penguin. And while we're reading Tacky the Penguin, I want you to be thinking about the traits that Tacky shows. So while we're looking at the book, I'm going to ask you a couple questions for you to be thinking about what you notice about Tacky. So let's go ahead and get started.
Tacky the Penguin. Written by Helen Lester, illustrated by Lynn Munsinger. There once lived a penguin whose home was a nice, icy land he shared with his companions. His companions were named Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect. His name was Tacky. Tacky was an odd bird.
My friends, they just said that Tacky was an odd bird, and I want to go back and look at that picture. Does Tacky look like the other penguins? Take a look at him. Now let's look at the other penguins. All right, let's keep listening.
Every day, Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect greeted each other quietly and politely. Tacky greeted them with a hearty slap on the back and a loud, "What's happening?" Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect always marched 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Tacky always marched 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 6, 0, 2.5, 0. His companions were graceful divers. Tacky liked to do splashy cannonballs. Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect always sang pretty songs like Sunrise on the Iceberg. Tacky always sang songs like How Many Toes Does a Fish Have? Tacky was an odd bird.
Does Tacky behave the same way as the other birds? Let's be thinking.
One day the penguins heard the thump, thump, thump of feet in the distance. This could mean only one thing. Hunters had come. They came with maps and traps and rocks and locks, and they were rough and tough. As the thump, thump, thump drew closer, the penguins could hear the growly voices chanting, "We're gonna catch some pretty penguins, and we'll march 'em with a switch, and we'll sell 'em for $1 and get rich, rich, rich." Goodly, Lovely, Angel, Neatly, and Perfect ran away in fright. They hid behind a block of ice. Tacky stood alone. The hunters marched right up to him chanting, "We're going to catch some pretty penguins and we'll march 'em with a switch and we'll sell 'em for $1 and get rich, rich, rich." "What's happening?" blared Tacky, giving one hunter an especially hearty slap on the back. They growled, "We're hunting for penguins. That's what's happening." "Penguins?" said Tacky. "Do you mean those birds that march neatly in a row?" And he marched 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 6, 0, 2.5, 0. The hunters looked puzzled. "Do you mean those birds that dive so gracefully?" Tacky asked. And he did a splashy cannonball. The hunters looked wet. "Do you mean those birds that sing such pretty songs?" Tacky began to sing, and from behind the block of ice came the voices of his companions, all singing as loudly and dreadfully as they could. "How many toes does a fish have? And how many wings on a cow? I wonder, yep, I wonder." The hunters could not stand the horrible singing. This could not be the land of the pretty penguins. They ran away with their hands clasped tightly over their ears, leaving behind their maps and traps and rocks and locks, and not looking at all rough and tough. Goodly, lovely, angel, neatly and perfect, hugged Tacky. Tacky was an odd bird, but a very nice bird to have around.
I just love that story so much. I love that Tacky doesn't act like the other penguins and that he just is himself. I think that's really cool in there. And that he ends up saving the day at the end. That's pretty awesome. So my friends, while we were reading today, I asked you to kind of think about a couple questions. And these are going to help us to decide how Tacky is as a character, some of his character traits. So I asked you, does Tacky look like the other penguins? And when I really thought about that, I saw that the other penguins were standing tall. They had a bow tie on them that looked kind of like fancy, like they were dressed really nice and put together. And then they showed Tacky, and he had that really silly, like flowery shirt on, and he just didn't look the same as the other penguins. And those are some of the things that I'm remembering. So I'm going to get us started on a chart to describe Tacky, but I'm going to ask for you to finish it on your own in Google Classroom today. So I'm only going to put a few ideas on here, and I'm going to have you think about those questions more to add more details. So on the outside, one of the things that I noticed about Tacky is that he's what kind of animal? Yeah, he's a penguin. So I'm going to write that on here. Penguin. Awesome. Now, when I think about my penguin, I kind of have to think back to the picture in the story because I didn't have the right color markers to draw him. But penguins are what two colors normally? There's two of them. Black and white. Yeah, so I'm going to add that he was black and white. Now, the other thing that I want you to think about is that question that I asked you, does Tacky look like the other penguins? This tells me that he does, but there's something about him that's different, and I want you to add that when we go to Google Classroom today, okay? Now, on the inside, when we think about the inside of our character, we want to think about how does the character behave, act, and react. And when I think about Tacky and the way he behaved, I really like that he's not like the other penguins. When a person is an individual and they don't act the same way and they don't look the same way, we use the word unique. Unique means that you're your own person and you're different than other people. So I'm going to write that word, unique. Unique. Great. So here is a start to what you're going to be doing today, but I want you to add more words. So I'm going to show you what you're doing in Google Classroom. Go ahead and put that down, and I will pull up our Google Classroom here for you to see. Okay, so today in Google Classroom, when you get in, you're going to see a page that looks just like this. It says, outside, does Tacky look like the other penguins? And what you're going to do is you're going to click right on this box right next to the dot, and you can type. So on the outside, I said Tacky is a penguin. And then when I hit enter, it gives me another dot. Tacky is black, Tacky is white. And then I want you to add more things. What else did you think about Tacky on the outside? Maybe look at this picture in the middle to decide some things. Then on the inside, you can do the same thing. So if you take a look, I just click right next to that dot, and then this blue box comes up, and now I can type inside of it. So I used the word unique, but I want you to add more things. What makes him different on the inside? How would you describe Tacky? Is he happy? Is he funny? Is he silly? Is he sad? Is he grumpy? What words would you use? And I want you to go ahead and add more onto this, okay? So, as a reminder, my friends, while you're working, our target today is I can determine the character traits of the main character in a text. The main character is tacky. So I want you to be thinking about those questions and what you saw in the book to really help you get a lot of details on there. And I'll be checking to see which details you add, okay? If you need to go back and see the tacky book one more time to think about him more as a character, you can watch this video again. And as always, go ahead and reach out to your teacher if you have any other questions. But I hope you have a great day. Get some hard work in there, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. Bye, first grade.